Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Know Thy Enemy, where we take a look at the Bengals' upcoming opponents, discuss their rosters, and also a Bengals plan for victory. I'm your host for this segment, as always, Evan McPhillips. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, support the State of the Jungle every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Tune in as we discuss all the latest Bengals news and answer your questions in the only exceptional Bengals Live show. Without further ado, let's get started. Looking ahead at the upcoming opponent, the Minnesota Vikings, who have had a tumultuous first 2 weeks. Obviously, a very up and down game against the Bears that ended with an explosive fourth quarter that ended up winning them the game in the first week. Great vibes. Even though, much like the Bengals, week one, you're not happy about how ugly the win might have been, that you're still happy to get the win and try and improve upon that in week two. Unfortunately, week two did not look as spectacular for the Minnesota Vikings in that regard. JJ McCarthy now reportedly dealing with an ankle injury and will be missing time. Looking at the Vikings as a whole, as we kind of shift toward the lens of the matchup versus the Bengals, it may be unfair for the long term to say that this is a good thing for the Vikings because JJ McCarthy is the future, is the plan right now, and they plan to develop him. And it's not fair to write him off after essentially 8 quarters. But at the moment, he was 30th in EPA per play out of all the quarterbacks. He was 31st out of 34 in PFF grade. And that signifies that he was really just among the bottom of the barrel there in terms of the quarterback play that you were seeing this season. And it really held back guys like TJ Hawkinson in the early part of the season, who maybe is not cooked, but maybe in the crock pot, slow cooking right now, if we're being honest. 0.61 yards per route run for TJ Hawkinson there. That's the unfortunate byproduct of that quarterback play. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's still one of the best in the league, but his stats have been far below expectation because of, again, this quarterback play, the inconsistent offense, not being able to stay on the field. All of these things have kind of contributed to a lackluster start. And that's why when I think about Carson Wentz, who's a veteran coming in, generally has been a big-time throw to turnover-worthy play of 1-to-1. He is the big play hunter, both good and bad. And a lot of times that can end up in pick sixes, as many fans are aware. But I do believe that Kevin O'Connell, like Shanahan, like McVay, all these guys from this system, the superpower of their offensive minds and of their system and being able to do what they do is that they can elevate the play of the lower tier quarterbacks to get them closer to average. It's not necessarily that they make the elite ones great. It's that they can really take the guys who struggle to do all of these things themselves and simplify them and help them be the best version of themselves they can be while putting the least amount of strain and responsibility they can on them. I believe Kevin O'Connell is going to have a good plan for designing this. And I think much like JJ McCarthy, Aaron Jones, a longtime favorite of mine as a player, very unfortunate to see him go on injured reserve. Hope that he has a speedy recovery. But if we're talking just from a strict production standpoint, 3.5 yards per attempt and 2.54 yards after contact per attempt. Excuse me. Terrible night of sleep last night. One missed tackle forced and 0 runs of 10 plus yards. So Aaron Jones really did not have the efficiency there. And I think, as a lot of Vikings fans feel, and even some beat writers have been talking about, Jordan Mason, 4.1 yards per attempt, 3.92 yards after contact per attempt, 4 missed tackles and 2 runs of 10 plus yards. All of that just signifies that he is the more productive option right now. That is another kind of like maybe addition by subtraction situation where, hey, now you're forced to play Jordan Mason more. And that could, against a Bengals defense that was good against the Browns versus the run in week one, was mixed results in week two. That is definitely going to be a factor in this game. I think Jordan Mason could absolutely have a breakout game here. Looking just quickly at the offensive line, Brian O'Neill, right tackle, has really impressed this season, allowed just one pressure that turned into a sack, ranks inside top 10 tackles, left and right in both run blocking and pass blocking through 2 weeks. So credit to him. Donovan Jackson and Will Freeze are holding down the other two guarding spots, ranking 27th and 41st out of those 64 starting guards. So pretty decent offensive line play in that sense right there. But there have been lots of injuries, potentially down to their third string left tackle and 𝗬𝗢𝗪𝗛, depending on if Christian Darrisaw can suit up. They're going to be missing center Ryan Kelly, who's dealing with another concussion. I believe that's his fourth one in his career. So extended time probably for that injury there. All of those missing links is going to make it really, really difficult on the offensive line, as the Bengals know. Those injuries to key positions can really wear you down and test your depth. So that is going to be interesting if there is a guy like a third string left tackle in 𝗬𝗢𝗪𝗛, who's going to be going against a guy like Trey Hendrickson all game. Could be potential game-wrecking opportunity there for Trey Hendrickson. We will see how that unfolds and what Darrisaw's health is like later in the week. Looking really quickly at the defense, the Vikings, Brian Flores is the star of the show, right? He changes the picture on you so quick. I swear, it's like a picture of a kitty when you're hiking the ball, and then after the snap, it rotates, and suddenly the 𝗙𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗀$, but props to him. What makes a cast of characters that maybe wouldn't look like the best defensive roster in the NFL produce like one? And that is, the Vikings are some of the high variance, really aggressive plays, constantly change the picture, makes you think and try to force those high variance instances into the game in their favor. They are top 5 in blitz rate. And as a result, they are 8th in EPA per play overall, 9th in success rate, 2nd in drop back EPA per play, and yet just 25th in rush EPA. We'll see if the Bengals are able to take advantage of this. It's going to be interesting to see how that works with Jake Browning under center. But just to point out, the Bengals had a rush success rate of only 33% with Browning in versus the Jaguars, which was 24th among teams in week 2. So whether or not they can take advantage of that unfortunate rush defense production for the Vikings and their over aggressiveness in some instances, that remains to be seen. We will have to find out. Some unsung heroes of that Vikings defense who have been stepping up. Josh Metellus, 4 defensive stops at safety and allowing just 34 yards on 8 targets is really impressive. Apparently, according to the injury report, I believe they're going to be getting Andrew Van Ginkel back, which will be flanking Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, which would make for a difficult day for a Bengals offensive line that struggled a lot with the Jaguars D-line last week. On top of that, you have second-year edge Dallas Turner, who should only add to the concerns for the Bengals offensive line room in this game. Really going to be a big deal. They have to be on their toes at the point of attack, cannot be getting pushed off, cannot be getting that pocket shrunk down, or Jake Browning is going to be very uncomfortable. And we know he has the propensity for the big play, which can also result in a big bad play sometimes. So trying to reduce that will be key for the Bengals. Getting Jeff Okudah back could be a mixed bag, but it should at least bolster their secondary depth. It's largely been an area that, with the aggressive nature and kind of how they're asked to play a lot of times, it can be unfair to defensive backs who are generally shielded more by their scheme or with other teams, right? Or with more help than they get. But Jeff Okudah, Byron Murphy, Isaiah Rodgers, they've all been having their fair share of struggles throughout the season. Blake Cashman going on injured reserve, that definitely did not help things. Cincinnati alumnus Ivan Pace, who's had ups and downs throughout his career, but looked promising for a time, has a 31.6 PFF grade and will have to step up his game to pick up the slack for Cashman. Looking at the keys to victory for this Bengals team as they move from Joe Burrow to Jake Browning, they're going to need to get the ball out quickly like they did, and I believe about 2.3 seconds with Browning when he stepped in to fill in for Joe Burrow. They're going to have to continue to do the play action, the rollouts, the high-low reads, the screens and quick game, that just the easy button stuff to help make it as easy as possible for Browning. He's going to have to take his chances when he has those shots against Ja'Marr Chase, against T. Higgins, much like the defense for the Bengals. They are going to have to try and take their chances at the higher variance stuff sometimes. Those shots down the field would likely present themselves a little bit more as teams kind of anticipate the Bengals are going to lean heavily on Chase Brown and a lot of that ground game and try and control more of the game, as opposed to just being a lights out number one neutral down pass rate type of team. On defense, Bengals absolutely have to shut down this run game, force Carson Wentz to beat them, much like the plan was with Joe Flacco. You're going to get those opportunities to make the turnovers happen. You've been doing a pretty good job overall of taking advantage of a lot of the opportunities, making good defensive plays. Dax Hill with a great interception last week. I just wanted to emphasize that the Bengals really need to continue to do that, because getting those big turnovers is going to help out with this offense, especially if they are struggling to generate consistency down to down as they try and develop their new offense kind of around Browning and what they want to be and how they're going to use their weapons. Expect a lot of Mike Gesicki, expect a lot of Noah Fant, kind of 12 personnel running the ball, Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins. I do think that Jake Browning is going to take his chances, but I do think that they're largely going to have to try and make this as easy as possible. Those quick throws should be advantageous against a Vikings defense that's going to be blitzing a lot. They just got to get the right calls at the right time. We'll see if the Bengals coaching staff and the players have it in them to make this a competitive game, to make Carson Wentz and the Vikings, who are also ailing from a number of injuries, beat them. It'll be a fun time, at the very least, for one team who emerges as the victor. Hopefully for Bengals fans, it's us, but the season definitely has a little bit of a cloud over it right now. But 2-0, we'll see what happens as the season progresses. Houday, thank you for joining us. We will catch you next time on Know Thy Enemy. Thank you as always. Have a good weekend.
This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.